But I want to start this show with the LA Clippers. I just came from Clippers Media Day, quite the extravaganza there at the Intuit Dome, and a lot of eyeballs that were on it. I thought it was going to be the most interesting media day in terms of, what we were going to potentially get out of it, of any that's in the league, because it was going to be the first time that we were going to hear directly from Lawrence Frank, the president of basketball operations with the Clippers, and of course the first time we were going to hear from Kawhi Leonard since the story broke that the Clippers allegedly were funneling money to a environmental company that was then giving the money to Kawhi Leonard to circumvent the salary cap. Now, unfortunately, it was not a robust Q&A with Kawhi Leonard when it came to this particular topic. There was a pretty good exchange with ESPN's Ramona Shelburne. I want to play that right now.
Understanding of the endorsement deal that you had with the company that's been talked Aspiration, and did you perform any services for them?
When you say understanding, what do you mean?
Like the contract you signed, and how much money you were to receive, what you were supposed to perform for those services?
I understand that full contract and the services that I had to do. Like I said, I don't deal with the conspiracies or the clickbait analysts or journalism that's going on. So that's what it is.
Well, I think the allegation was that you didn't perform any services for them. Is that accurate, or did you?
I don't think it's accurate, but it's old. This is all new to you guys. The company went bankrupt a while ago, so we already knew this was going to happen. So,
you were named as like the largest creditor in the bankruptcy filing, right? Did you actually get the money that was owed to you in the contract, or?
No, but the company went belly up. It was fraud, as everybody knows. If you want any more questions or more details about that company, you need to ask the owner or whoever else is involved in the fraud that went on.
Right, I think they said they owed you $7 million or something, right?
I'm not sure. I gotta look back at the books, but no, it's more than that for sure.
Do you have any idea of how much you actually made on that?
No, it was like 2, 3, 4 years ago.
I got to tell you, Rachel, before we get deeper into what Kawhi did say, I have to vent a little bit about not getting the opportunity to ask him more. I was there, obviously, at Clippers Media Day. I was eager to ask a question, and my question was going to be a follow-up to one of the topics that Ramona brought up, but I didn't get a chance to ask him. Kawhi was whisked in and whisked out all within around 7 minutes, which is on the low end for some of these guys. For context, LeBron on Media Day spoke for 15 minutes. The other guys that were there, 10-ish minutes.
I feel like 10 is the floor usually, right?
Agreed. They got Kawhi in and they got Kawhi out. And I don't, no disrespect to my media brethren, but I don't understand why anyone was asking anything but aspiration-connected questions, trying to get to the root of it. Because, Kawhi's answers were basically to brush it off to conspiracy theories and clickbait. Those are the two things he brought up over and over again. Just saying basically he's saying fake news is what he's saying. He's saying
old news, right? He said this is new to you guys, but this is old to us.
Well, let's start there then. You saw what he said and what he didn't say. What stood out to you?
I thought it was interesting that at least once we did get a clear denial from Lawrence Frank, and at least once, and that was while Lawrence was reading his statement, and at least once we got a clear denial from Kawhi Leonard. And this is what he said. He said, the NBA is going to do their job. None of us did no wrongdoing. That's it. We invite the investigations. It's not going to be a distraction for me or my team. What was weird to me is that if you're going to come out and say that, as clearly as Kawhi did say that, and you're going to come out as strongly and clearly as Lawrence Frank did in his statement, where he said multiple times, we didn't do anything wrong, how come in the answers to live questions was it so much more vague and just sort of sounding kind of shifty? One of the things that we heard Steve Ballmer say during his initial interview with Ramona Shelburne, one of the things we heard today, again from Lawrence Frank, clearly someone has told them this is what you should say is, we all know the rules, right? We've heard this now from multiple Clippers people. We all know the rules. Kawhi knows the rules. Dennis knows the rules. We all know the rules. That's an answer to a direct question of, did you do this? The answer has been, we all know the rules. And that's what confused me, is if you're going to come out at least one time and say, we didn't do anything, why not be more clear and decisive in the Q&A portion where you can just say, no, there's nothing to this. We didn't do it. This didn't happen. Kawhi, as you point out, said, oh, there was more to the story with, how much, whether I did or didn't do anything for that endorsement. Well, why not talk about it?
This was my issue. And that was going to be my follow-up question, because my antenna went up. I had a few things I wanted to ask, but my antenna went up when he denied the part of the story that he didn't do anything for Aspiration. And the reality is that this story probably goes away if he did one thing, just one thing. Like if he put out a tweet, if he showed up at a signing, if he planted a damn tree in his backyard and told somebody about it, then this would probably go away. Maybe people would still have their suspicion, but hey, it's an endorsement deal. He did almost nothing, but he did do something, so there's really nothing we can do about it. The fact is, most people believe that he did nothing, that he got $7 million per year to do nothing. And he did nothing at this press availability to explain any of that away. Did nothing to explain that away. That is the ball game right there. That is the story. And it was just it was maddening for me not to get the opportunity to ask that specific question. I think they're going to San Diego this weekend. I'm not going down there. But I hope somebody asks that question during the week, because that is the ball game right there, Rachel. If he did something, then he's able to point to that and said, I did something for this endorsement deal. If he did nothing, it is impossible to explain why he was getting $7 million per year. Let's keep repeating that. $7 million per year to do nothing. That's the ball game.
But that's the thing that I don't understand, is to come out and say we did nothing wrong. And Kawhi came out and said we didn't do anything wrong. And Lawrence Frank came out and said we didn't do anything wrong. Why not be clear about the whole thing? Because they're sitting up there and being like, well, we know the rules, or, Kawhi being like, I'm not explaining all of that. And there's a lot of dancing around it. Just come out and say, here is what happened. And that's what is confusing to me, is that they've got one declarative sentence and the rest a bunch of dancing around. And it just makes it feel suspicious when, according to them, it doesn't have to. They keep telling us, we didn't do anything wrong. There's no there. We welcome an investigation. You're going to find out. If all of that's true, and I don't have any reason not to believe them, tell us the whole truth. That's
but isn't that why you don't have any reason not to believe them? But when they're dancing around this stuff,
well, that's what
makes
I mean.
you suspicious.
When they're saying all of that stuff, I have no reason not to believe them, right? It's clear, it's messaging, all of that stuff. So then when you're asked about it, when there's follow-up questions, don't take me off of that. Don't start dancing around. Don't stop, answering questions. Provide actual information, because I can start from the place of your statement and say, great, these have been reliable people in the past. I believe their statement because this is what they're telling us clearly and concisely. We welcome an investigation. We've done nothing wrong. This will show we've done nothing wrong. That's all pretty decisive language. Then why dance around it? Why not provide specifics afterward? Because you're taking me off my starting point of saying, hey, this is an NBA team. I mean, we all start from the place of thinking these NBA teams wouldn't do something so brazen and crazy as circumvent the salary cap to this degree, right? We're just assuming, that's been the assumption, that all 30 of these teams have operated every year without circumventing the salary cap. That's where we're starting from. And then they give this big statement saying, we didn't do it. We welcome an investigation. There's no there. This will show we were conned. We didn't participate in this. Well, if you're going to say all that, provide more information. And I do understand there's an active NBA investigation. I get it.
Yeah, but on that, Rachel, that one, who cares? The active investigation stuff drives me crazy. This isn't a criminal investigation. You're not under a gag order. There's no court of law here. This is an investigation that you can talk about. You don't have. What I mean. Yeah, I think they don't want to talk about it, or people don't want to talk about it, because anything they say could potentially further incriminate them. If they offer up any specifics, that could open doors that people could look into. I mean, look, the one person that's out there defending them is friggin' Mark Cuban, who won't stop talking and won't stop tweeting and won't stop defending them. He is the ultimate mouthpiece for the Clippers and Steve Ballmer in all this, because every time Pablo Torre drops a new piece of information, he did so again on Monday, a little nugget, a little more information that's out there about this story. Mark Cuban comes out and writes a 10,000-word Twitter post about it and explains why Pablo is wrong about this. Why are the Clippers not pushing back in the same way that Mark Cuban is pushing back? Again, it's not a criminal proceeding. It's not a court of law. It's an NBA investigation that you can talk about if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, that is my question. And obviously a frustrating day for those of you at Clippers Media Day.
Yeah, it just, I don't, like, just all I want is one example, like one. Maybe that won't satisfy everybody, but if you can offer up.
I disagree with you. I don't think this goes away at all with that example. I think it's a great question. I'm disappointed you didn't get to ask it, and I would like to have heard him answer it. The question is super valid, but I don't think this goes away. It doesn't really matter. Let's say he tweeted 3 times a year. Let's say that was the story when Pablo first broke the story. It was, oh, he tweeted 3 times a year. Nobody would have thought that that was still justified for $7 million a year. I don't think that he can show he did something that's going to make us all go.
Probably not.
Here are these suspicious payments. I think we're way down the rabbit hole and that road now. I think it's become a lot more complicated than that. I still would have liked to know the answer to the question, but I think there's just mounting financial transactions that the Clippers are going to have to answer for.
You're probably right that it doesn't go away entirely and people wouldn't believe it. But I think that a tweet or a tree planting or, I don't know, a t-shirt that he's wearing, I think that gives the NBA cover. Right? The NBA can say, well, it's, it wasn't much, but it was something. He did something and we really can't prove anything. So on to the next. The Clippers, like, they're almost operating like they're hoping people forget about this. That it's like, we're the Clippers. Nobody cared about us before this. Like maybe in a couple of weeks, nobody's going to care about this anymore. And look, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. Maybe they get all their guys on the court. We start talking more about Kawhi and James Harden and all the guys they brought in this offseason and all things they were trying to steer everybody towards on Media Day. I just want to hear the answers to these specific questions about the $7 million. And the other thing that bothered me, as it continues to come to me, but the other thing that bothered me is like, it just seems like nobody's like they're acting like nobody's talking to each other internally. Like, right. Do you not have like a sit down with Kawhi? When Ballmer told Ramona on ESPN, like, we haven't talked to Kawhi about it. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, has there not been a come to Jesus moment where you're talking to these guys? If you didn't do anything, do you not talk to these guys about what happened in this particular situation, how you can get it worked out? There's just still so much confusion right now with this story. And I thought Lawrence Frank did a pretty good job. I asked him some direct questions. I thought he did a pretty good job in answering as best as he probably could. I just thought Kawhi did an abysmal job of clearing this up. And when you start blaming things on conspiracy theories and clickbait, just go to bed. Like that's enough. That's not going to convince anybody that this story, which was extremely thoroughly reported and vetted from start to finish, is some kind of conspiracy theory in clickbait. It's not from an anonymous Twitter user. It's from a reporter that's done this before, that just took down the NFL Players Union before. So like, this is not some minor thing. I thought his pushback was weak. I just thought it was weak, and he didn't answer the fundamental question: is can he name one thing that he did to promote this company that was paying him $7 million? That's all I got on this one for right now. Not forever, but...
You said that you hope someone asks Kawhi that later in the week. I can guarantee you that the Clippers, I'm sure, will come out and say, great, asked and answered. We're not talking about this anymore. If you have a question about Aspiration, refer it to this corporate X or Y. I don't think anyone's asking Kawhi another question about this, or they certainly ask, but I don't think he's answering another question about this. And I do think after a while, once the mechanism of the season starts up, people will be talking about what's going on in the court with the Clippers, and the oxygen on this will die out to some degree. But here's the thing that's such a catch-22 for everyone. The Clippers are hosting the All-Star game. Yep. So this cannot, while it might ebb in terms of the interest in this and the conversation around this for the next couple of months, I do think starting in January, we're going to start talking again about where's the investigation? What's the status of the investigation? Every time there's a clip shown on a non-sports sort of national news forum, they're going to say, and the Clippers who are under investigation for X, Y, and Z. That's where the NBA and the Clippers are sort of going to run into all of this right all over again. So I'm very curious to see what happens there.
There's also Pablo, too, and I don't know what else he's got. Like, he clearly has a trove of information. He has a lot of people talking to him about this. So his ability to keep this in the news, I think, is a variable as well.